Hello everyone, welcome back. Today, I want to discuss a troubling chapter in the autobiography, The Life of Josiah Henson, a man whose story has been celebrated by some as one of perseverance and resilience. However, there's a moment in his life that I find deeply disturbing, a moment that raises significant moral questions about his actions and his character. In February of 1825, Josiah Henson was approached by his master, who fell into financial difficulties. He wanted Josiah to transport himself and 21 other slaves to a Kentucky plantation 1,000 miles away to avoid losing his slaves in a lawsuit. Josiah, in his zealousness to please his master, agreed to the job and promised that he would do all he can to prevent his master from losing his slaves. As Josiah and the caravan made their way through the state of Ohio, they encountered a crucial moment, a moment where the course of their lives could have taken a drastically different direction. Ohio was a free state, and the message was clear. They were free if they chose to be so. But Henson made a choice that would define his actions and his legacy in ways that are deeply troubling. Despite being told repeatedly by those who understood the preciousness of freedom, Henson chose not to be free. At Cincinnati in particular, the situation became more intense. The black community there, recognizing the opportunity for these enslaved people to break their chains, surrounded the group and urged them to stay. They were told it was foolishness to continue the journey. Josiah dismissed the earnest pleas of those around him, stating that he had promised to deliver his master's property to Kentucky, and that only is what he was going to do. Henson later reflected on this moment, expressing that his companions probably had little perception of the nature of the freedom that was being offered to them. They were willing to follow his lead without question, without a desire to judge for themselves. This admission reveals a critical truth. Henson did not merely choose for himself. He chose for all of them, and in doing so, he condemned them to continued enslavement. The idea of running away was not one that Josiah had ever indulged. He confessed that he had never seriously considered escaping his bondage. But let's unpack what this really means. Josiah acknowledged that he could have stayed in Ohio with his companions without the slightest risk. He admitted that there would have been no injustice in leaving behind a man who had been cruel and oppressive for years. In fact, Josiah himself recognized that abandoning his master would have been a righteous retribution, a just act against a man who had never shown a shred of sympathy for the suffering of those he enslaved. And yet, Josiah Henson chose otherwise. He chose to perpetuate the very system that had dehumanized him and his companions. He chose slavery, not just for himself, but for those who looked to him for guidance. In this moment, Josiah's actions speak louder than any later confession or reflection. His choice to lead these people into Kentucky was a choice to uphold slavery, to prioritize his master's interests over the freedom of 21 lives, which 2 of them were his own children. The life of Josiah Henson challenges us to consider these complexities and the harsh realities that shape the lives of enslaved people. I invite you to reflect on these issues and share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay curious and keep questioning.